No, I don't. Oh, you know what? I will do that just in case there's any like little nuggets that maybe I can have a video person do. So let's
Well,
see.
and then we can also share it like on our Facebook and stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So if we're not connected on Facebook, definitely connect with me on Facebook because then you know how that goes. And then my adult ADD, I just looked at your cup. What's your cup say? Or your mug say? Amen, sister.
I also have a fox that says snuggle season. This is coffee. This is water.
Okay,
My
now we
husband was
know.
supposed to get me more coffee.
I'm trying to find my Go Live thing. Where the hell is it?
But yeah,
Oh, here
I'm
we go.
not.
I just found it. All right. So momentarily, it should be opening. Continue with me. All right. So Go Live. Yay.
I'll make sure that I like find you.
Yeah, definitely make sure you do. And then my dog Zoe is driving me nuts. So this is the beauty of when you do a Facebook Live is that you've got this little creature here that wants to jump in. This is Zoe. Zoe, so mommy's going to be talking right now to Dana Goodman from NEC
Aww,
Solar.
I
Yeah.
want a puppy.
Yeah, she's cute, but you know what? She'll bite you. She'll bite you. She's a little witch.
Really? She's a biter?
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. She's like a true rat terrier, so she is
Oh.
fiercely loyal to the owners, but and like
Hmm.
her yard, like our yard is like her domain. She's very proud of it. Um, but she's the sweetest thing. And if she loves you, she loves you, but she's drawn blood. Which is
Yeah.
probably not good being on Facebook Live with insurance and stuff. But anywho, um, Dana, I'm glad that you and I can have a little lunch chat today and just go live and talk a little bit about solar because there's a lot that I'll hear in doing mortgage lending from people with solar, especially if they're buying a home that has an
Hmm.
existing system or maybe still have payments on it. Sometimes there's some pains with that. Other times it's trying to figure out like, hey, is it right for the consumer or not? And I love for you to share a little bit about NEC and about solar and what makes you guys different.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, just to give you a little bit of background on me, I've been in the solar industry for 10 years. My history is like I have a degree in environmental science and policy. I got into solar because I took a class on toxicology and it scared the living daylights out of me when I really understood how much air pollution from burning fossil fuels and other things, how much air pollution collects in our water system and then gets into our bodies through our water and our soil through our food, right?
Yeah.
So, and just in general, how air pollution is like it's terrible for people with asthma. There's a million reasons. We all know the pollution is bad, right? Pollution
Yeah.
causes cancer. Pollution is terrible. So that freaked me out beyond belief. And I felt like the best thing I could do was to help people make a change on an individual basis by, selling people solar panels, by getting people to go solar and just literally becoming part of that. What Danny Kennedy, he was the founder of the first solar company that I worked for, um, called the rooftop revolution. So I like that because it's like there are so many rooftops available, and if we just covered them all with solar, then we would meet all of our electricity consumption needs very easily. So that's a little bit about why I came to NEC.
Yeah.
So like I said, I've been in the industry for 10 years. I've been at NEC for 6. And one of the reasons I'm at NEC is because of the people. So I honestly have had a great experience here. The owner is owned by a family, and being a family-owned company that creates, a lot of internal, I would say, camaraderie that you might not get at like a bigger corporation. And
Hmm.
I've worked for like big corporations too. And those, can be fun in different ways. But with NEC, it's really about the people and the fact that I'm able to deliver the kind of customer service that I genuinely care about. And so there's just like a different level of caring for the customer at a company like this. And so we are based in Bristol, Rhode Island. We serve both Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and we do residential and commercial electrical construction, solar, and batteries. So we're not just a solar company, we're an electrical construction company. And NEC Solar is one of the things we do under the umbrella of Newport Electric Construction. So I love being here because, as someone in the industry, it creates the opportunity for me to really care about my clients and develop long-term relationships with my clients versus just like a lot of the bigger companies are just kind of like churn and burn. And I don't like that. Through this company as well, it's been great to be able to participate in our outreach program. So I started our outreach program through the Rhode Island Clean Energy Internship Program. So rather than having somebody like come up and knock on your door, which a lot of people aren't comfortable with, we meet folks through the community, through farmers markets, through community events, through community partnerships.
Yeah, and that's actually how I met you because we
Mhm.
had put together a community event where we did some fundraising for Youth Pride Rhode Island. Way to go, Youth Pride Rhode Island. We'll be putting that together again in October. And you had reached out to me and had mentioned that you do that, and that was something that impressed me about you and that you're making that outreach.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had also like we've sponsored Newport Pride. We've sponsored AIDS Cure Ocean State for a while. One of the reasons I feel so bad, one of the reasons that we pulled out of AIDS Cure Ocean State is because we would always sponsor the drag bingo,
Yeah.
and I was always the person to go. And I have like my food allergies have gotten worse and worse. And so
Oh,
I can't be around like all the food that they have there because I'm like touching money and it could get into my, you know what I mean? So that's
yeah.
like I felt bad. I was like, oh, we need to find another like, queer supportive organization to sponsor because I can't do this anymore.
Oh, do you
I know.
have to go? I had a friend of mine that I lost touch with. I used to work with her. She was a coworker. And every 7 years, she would, because she had a ton of allergies, she'd have to go for those scratch tests. Like, are yours that bad? Like, where you have to keep getting checked out?
Yeah, I feel bad. Like it's funny, you talked about dog bites. The only time I've ever gotten bitten by a dog was at a client's house. This little scar right here is from Prince, little Shih Tzu, little white Shih Tzu. I'll never
Nice
forget
to
him.
you.
Was at a client's house, and the only time I've ever had to use my EpiPen was at the office. And it wasn't even like anybody's fault. It wasn't like somebody like, ate something that I'm allergic to and then like, touched my computer or anything like that. I didn't know I had the allergy. It was a new allergy. And so I'm like eating my lunch like all good, and then all of a sudden I was like, ah.
Well, I'm glad the EpiPen worked and you're still with us.
Yeah, totally
Hey,
fine. But see, that's what I'm talking about. Great coworkers is I had my coworker bring me to the emergency room.
yeah. Hey, a question for you with solar and as you're doing the outreach and as you're out there with the community, what do you find that consumers are asking you the most about when it comes to solar?
Oh, wow. I wish I had a most or an average for you, but I don't.
Too many?
Everybody is just so different.
Yeah.
Everyone's so different. People have like their own concerns. I mean, obviously, like the first thing people want to know is how much does it cost? And
Yeah.
I can't answer that. I mean, that's a process. Even me understanding how much it's going to cost for the client is a process. First of all, I need your address. I need your electricity bill. I need to do an evaluation of how much power you need. Excuse me. And then I need to figure out what's going to fit on your roof. And then I need to figure out what incentives you qualify for. And then I need to figure out and then, and I also have options of like, do we use this panel versus this other panel? Some panels are a little bit more expensive. Some panels are a little bit less expensive, but they have different benefits. And so it's like, how much does it cost? It's like, that is not an easy question to answer. And so, that's just one of those things where we say, I love to guide you towards a consultation because I can get you that answer. But I'd say like the thing that people want to know the most is they're curious about incentives and whether or not they still exist. And that's an easy answer. Like, yes, there's a 30% federal tax credit available from the government. I cannot give you tax advice, but I can tell you that tax credit exists. It's called the investment tax credit, ITC. And it's been around since like 2008, I want to say. I can never remember the exact date. I think it's been around since 2008. And it hasn't gone away. It's still there. 30% of the cost of your project is eligible as a tax credit. So that's like, I think the main thing that people want to know is, does that tax credit still exist? When they ask about incentives, I kind
Hmm.
of think that that's what they mean.
Yeah.
And then there's different state incentives in Rhode Island and Massachusetts that may be applicable to your project or not. So it's tough to answer that when I'm out at a community event because everyone's individual and everyone might have qualify for something different.
That's fair. It's the same thing in the mortgage industry. I think people are programmed to say, what's your rate? And it's not as
Mhm.
easy as it was years ago. There's not just one size fits all, and it's kind of the same. Do you, can you speak on this? Is it better to rent the stuff or is it better to buy it? Or is
Bye.
that an it depends answer? Well, I have had situations where, I'm sorry, maybe they didn't rent it, or maybe they're on a payment plan.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure. This is the beauty of live is that we're gonna screw up and we can't edit these out. So,
I
but
got the answer.
yeah, no, can you speak to that? Like, sometimes people will have a payment and maybe they're not renting it. Maybe it's just that they're doing financing on it. But can
Mm.
you talk about how people can pay for it?
Oh, absolutely. I think that that's one of the things that, especially folks that are like new in real
Yeah.
estate, it flummoxes them because they just don't have enough experience with it. And then they'll see a house that has something that they're trying to sell, and they're like, I don't know how to sell this because they don't understand the solar contract. And, so that's one way that I can help folks. So basically, I think the most important thing to understand about the solar industry as a whole, right, is that solar has been around since the 50s.
Come
So
on,
solar,
really?
oh yeah, the first scientist to discover the concept that light can create energy was in the early, no, in the mid 1800s. In the mid 1800s, scientists had discovered that you can create light from energy, and they used a different element called selenium.
Okay.
And it was these two scientists, Grills and Day. I can never remember the exact details, but basically it was like in the mid 1800s that they discovered that. And then basically in the early 1900s, the Bell Laboratories started using silicon instead of selenium,
Okay.
right? And using like sunlight versus artificially created light. Okay. So then by the 1950s, there was like a functioning prototype that was started to get used by NASA. And then in the early 1960s is when I think it was 1964, that solar panels were available to the public.
Okay. Wow. I never knew that.
You can find black and white photos, like old black and white photos of telephone workers putting solar panels up on telephone poles.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's
Hmm.
neat.
Yeah. So anyhow, so that's the thing I think is important to understand is that the industry is actually a long-lived industry. So solar panels, the technology has actually been around for a long time. What's new in the solar industry is the technology has obviously skyrocketed since the 1950s, but what's new is the financing models,
Okay.
right? Financing models and incentives. So, like I said, that investment tax credit, starting out with that 30% of your project that can get paid for, but from your tax appetite. Then you have incentives from, your state as well, right? And then you have financing models. So that's the thing is financing solar is what made it possible for us to have these big booms starting around like 2010, especially through like the 20 teens, like 2015. That was like 2015, 2016 was like this explosion year for solar because everybody was using what's called a PPA, a power purchase agreement. So what happens with a PPA is that the solar company owns the panels. They
Yeah.
sell them, they put them on your roof for free, and then they charge you for the power that is produced by the solar panels at a lower rate than what the utility company would charge you. So back then, pricing, for
Okay.
example, this is pricing along, this is not today's pricing at all. But like back then, if your cost per kilowatt hour was 18 cents, they would say, we're going to sell you energy at 12 cents. That's way better, right? And so that's how it would reduce your electricity bill, but not necessarily like wipe it out because you didn't own the panels.
Mhm.
So anyways, that's one example. So the what I'm trying to get around to is the fact that solar policies and solar financing programs have changed so much over time, and they're different for each state. So that's why it's easy for, your everyday person who doesn't work in the solar industry to hear something from their neighbor, hear something from their buddy, and get confused or just not be aware, right, of what's currently available. And that's why you'll see homes that, somebody that went solar in 2015, they're trying to sell that home. They have a PPA on that home. Somebody who knows who owns those panels. That's a third party owner, right? So that's why today we feel it's best to own the panels because now it's actually more affordable to own the panels. Because now instead of having those types of financing structures that were footed by the solar company on the front end, like they would take on the debt, it's so much easier now to finance solar just the same way you would finance a house, just the same way you would finance a car.
Got it.
So purchasing solar and owning it is actually much better now. You don't need to have a PPA or a lease because leasing works like exactly the same as like if you lease a car. You have a flat fee and then it produces whatever power for you, right?
Hmm.
So when you're selling a home, having it owned outright, even if it's with a lender, you can still like it's so much easier to have a lender than to have a third party owner,
Mm.
right? So purchasing is definitely the way to go. NEC only sells purchased products. So through us, you can purchase with cash, you can purchase with our financing, which we use through a company. And we
And
have like
now,
different financiers that we'll work with, but we mainly use one financer.
cool. And then, are there any changes that you've seen as far as the technology with the panels from, and you don't have to take me back to the 60s or 50s, but from the panels that have been out now since since the mid, not mid 2000, yeah, mid 2000s or whatever.
Yeah.
Have there been a lot of differences or changes?
So I think the biggest change that we're seeing with panels from 10 years ago to today is with aesthetics and and then just like how much power they can produce, like how big they are, right? So especially like cheaper panels, there's two different types of silicon, right? So there's polycrystalline silicon, which kind of looks like my background, my sunny background behind me, my clouds. Polycrystalline silicon is going to look like a blue, shiny plaid kind of a matrix, right? Polycrystalline is like chunks of silicon that are melted together and then sliced off in wafers. So you get this like plaid sort of look to it, and they're very blue and they're very shiny.
Mhm.
Monocrystalline silicon is the fancy ones. So behind me, like
Okay.
that black,
Yeah,
wait, this way.
I can see it.
That, this,
Either way, we see it.
I don't know. Um, that
I
black,
hate to do that head thing, but yeah.
yeah, right? That's monocrystalline silicon. So
Okay.
monocrystalline silicon is a crystal that's grown from like one root crystal. It's grown into one solid tube called an ingot, and then that is sliced. So it's uniform in color
Mhm.
and it's black. So you get that uniformity in color. So older solar panels and more like commercial grade solar panels where like nobody cares how it looks
Mhm.
would be bluish in color and have a silver frame and maybe a white backsheet. They just look nasty. For homeowners, you want something that's going to blend in with the roof or at least look sleek. You might not have a black roof, but it's at least going to look sleek. And so the black back sheet, black silicone, and then the layering of the panels as well. So half cut cell. So a cell is like about this big, right? It's like a little kind of like a square. Cutting the cells in half and layering them allows you to have um it allows you to have a more uniform look to
Hmm.
the panel,
Hmm.
and then using a black metal frame as well so that you get this kind of a look.
Yeah.
And I
I,
love this example specifically because this client, sweet, sweet people, were very, very adamant about the aesthetics. They needed it to be perfect. And they were so pleased with this design. They loved it. So I would say aesthetics is the big thing, and then just size, right? So we're going from, let's say, a 280-watt panel or a 300-watt panel, maybe 8 to 10 years ago. And now, like, I'm selling panels that are 460 watts, going up to, it's just gonna keep getting bigger. I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of times folks think that solar panels are gonna be this big and they're gonna power your whole house. No. They do just
really
get
kidding.
bigger.
The roof tiles, is that coming down the pike where you can actually have them built into the roof tiles? Was that something that Tesla was working on? Have you heard about that? Like
Of
where,
course I
um,
have. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, the roof shingles,
the shingles.
personally, I'm
Yeah.
not a fan.
Okay.
But some people really like that idea. Just knowing what I know about how solar panels function, and I like the idea of having a separation, like having them elevated off the roof, because what's great about having them elevated off the roof is that it creates airflow underneath, and so you actually have a cooler attic because of it. Having them directly on the roof, I'm not a huge fan of. I personally think it creates more of a heat index. But then again, like that's just from my experience. I have not done any research on that. So like, I'm
Yeah,
not
no
pretending that I
worries.
know all about it. But I have not seen the shingles be successful, right?
Okay.
So like I said, I've been in this industry for 10 years. I have been hearing this lovely promise of solar shingles that are just around the corner for 10 years. So that's my experience. It's just not as realistic to make it. I mean, it's very expensive. First of all, it's very expensive. And I'm just not seeing the rollout that the industry has been promised.
Mm,
And so I mean, I don't want to say anything, I don't want to cast aspersions, but like
yeah.
if you Google it, you'll see what I mean.
That's all right. We can always go on the Google. Um,
Yeah.
does the age of the roof play a factor, or the type of the roof material? Does that come into play on if solar will work for a consumer or not?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about let's talk about age first. That was the first question you asked, age. So obviously, like the way that we do things is we like to see a roof that has at least 10 years of life left on the roof, right? So if I talk to a home, and it depends on the shingle quality as well.
Hmm.
So we definitely want a younger roof. It does not have to be a brand new roof. It does not have to be a brand new roof at all. It just has to be in good condition so that the shingles have life left on them. Basically, shingles, you want shingles to be flexible and healthy. That's it. So, but people think, oh, I have to re-roof to go solar and they have a 10-year-old roof. I'm like, no, that's fine. Your roof is only 10 years old. Like, you're good.
Mm,
If your roof is 22 years old, then we're having a different conversation,
mm,
right? And depending on the, the what do I want to say? The flexibility and just like the health of the shingles, are they in good condition? The other thing is in terms of roof subs, like the type of roof that you have. So, asphalt shingle, great. We can do metal. So any kind of metal standing seam is actually awesome. It's expensive, but it's so easy to install solar on metal standing seam because there's just like these little clips that you use. It's amazing. Wood shingles, like cedar wood shingles, will do it. It requires special mounting. It is more expensive. It is more challenging, but we have absolutely done it and can do it. But if you're choosing to re-roof, please don't do wood shake.
Do you find that people are using wood shingles? That's like a Sally Shells thing. Are they?
I have client, I mean,
Oh,
I have clients who we've definitely installed on wood shake. Yeah.
oh, okay.
It depends on where you live, a lot because we have a major coastal community here. A lot of those coastal homes have wood shake.
Okay.
So, so we can definitely install on asphalt, wood, metal. Um, Rubber is fine. There's a different mounting for rubber if it's like a flat rubber roof. The only thing that we will not install on is slate.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah, slate's a hot mess. No thanks.
Yeah. All right. No slate. Slate bad. That's what we learned today.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, if you really want to go solar, you could uninstall part of your slate and install something else, and then we'll install around it or in between it, but we're not going to you can technically find mountings for slate. It's just too risky.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
You've given so much good little nuggets today. And, and that was one of the things when you and I had first connected and we had our Zoom or phone call. I don't remember that time after the event, but it was just like your passion for what you do. And you changed my mind about solar. I was one of those negative people about solar, of just the struggles that we deal with as lenders sometimes with getting the contracts transferred and I think I wasn't looking at it the right way of, it can be a huge, not it can be, it's good for the environment.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I did that one time. Like I don't really think about it enough, but one time I think I was trying to I think I was trying to give support to one of my interns who was like feeling kind of down. And so, through the leads that they were able to obtain and through the sales we were able to get, I think I did the math in terms of how many kilowatt hours we were able to divert from being produced by fossil fuels and then translate that on the greenhouse gas thing where it's like that equates to like so many barrels of oil or please trees planted. And when you really look at it that way, it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And, I gotta say, like, the passion, everything that you have, for what you do, thanks so much for hanging out, kind of sort of having a little live lunch with me, so to speak, if anybody's popping on watching this. And, I appreciate the time a ton. Anything else that you think is important for people to know that are considering solar?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for that heartfelt sentiment from you. It means a lot to me that I helped change your mind about solar. That's like amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah,
That's one of the hardest parts of this job is
yeah,
just getting people to understand that I'm a real person. NEC is a real company. We're we're run by really nice people that care about other people. Like yeah, there's some sketchy people out there, but that's not us. So, we just genuinely care. And on my team, like I'm an environmentalist, but everybody else on my team of our consultants, we all have backgrounds in the environmental industry, all of us. So that's super key, just understanding that we are doing this for a very specific reason. Anything else I want people to know? I would say, like, just be open-minded, like, just give it a chance. You don't know until you know. And so I would just say that the best thing you can do is just get a quote. It can't hurt. I'm not going to hurt you. Your dog might hurt me, but I'm not going to hurt you. Uh, no, it's fine. I love dogs. I want to meet all the dogs. But I think the only thing I'd want to say as like a takeaway is just, solar companies, if you find a good one, they really genuinely want to help you and just give it a chance. You don't know what the benefits are until you know. And if you get get a quote, just get a consultation. It's like it's an hour of your time. And then you get the information that you need to make a, to make a decision for yourself. And I will say one thing, actually, yes, I want to leave with this.
Yeah, please.
In all my experience, and I'll be honest, like I am the worst liar in the world. I am a
I am too.
terrible liar.
Yeah.
A terrible liar. So that's the thing is like people are always like, "Oh, are you sure?" Like, how do I know you're not pulling my leg? I'm like, "Girl, I couldn't pull your leg if I tried." I'm just the most like that's just how I am. I'm absolutely terrible at that sort of thing. I don't like lying, but I'm also like really, really bad at it. So when I say to you that I swear the investment you make in solar is always going to be less than what you would have paid long term for electricity. I promise you. I have seen it thousands of times. The actual ROI that you get, even if you don't have a perfect roof for solar, even if you're only covering 80% of your need or 50% of your need, the amount of money that you are going to invest in the solar system is always going to be significantly less money than what you would have paid to the utility company over time. I promise you.
Bingo. We're going to end with that. But if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to connect with you, Dana?
Oh, any way you want. So I have an email, I have a phone number.
You have a beeper, if you remember.
I don't, I don't have a beeper.
All right.
Honestly, so my Facebook is Sunny Dana, which is super cheesy, but I
I
don't know,
love
it's
it.
just like a thing we do in the industry. So you can reach me at Dana at nec-solar.com, or you can call me at 401-307-1447. You can also text me. So yeah,
Awesome.
I don't know how to like put that up on the screen, but
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good with I'm still learning this whole live thing,
yeah,
Still
right.
figure out this new world we're in.
Yeah, so
But
Dana at nec-solar.com or 401-307-1447. Those are my contacts, or just, contact Suzanne and she can get in touch with me.
all right. Well, hey, it was a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out with me on the Book of Faces, and we'll be in touch, my friend. You have
Yeah,
a good one.
thanks, Suzanne.
All
Take
right.
care.
Yeah.
This is
Bye bye.
great.